Chapter 18. Aisha and I hurry toward the Peace Garden. That's what they're calling it, the Peace Garden. At least fascism doesn't kill irony. Sohail is already at the bare plot, raking the earth, spreading out the soil where seeds will grow. And he has the reinforcements he recruited. 15 others are here with him, digging in the dirt. The librarian gave us a gardening tutorial the other day. The director stopped by to wish us all well, but mainly, I think, to make his presence known. To remind us that everything in Mobius exists at his pleasure. Or not. There are tools and seeds and plant food and watering cans that can be filled from a trough. At first I was surprised that they'd even let us have access to metal tools. But as I watched Jake join the 2 other guards, I realized that the director's confidence in the Exclusion Authority's gunpowder is absolute. He knows we fear him, or at least his consequences, so he can afford to show a sort of twisted benevolence by letting us have certain freedoms in the camp. I haven't told Aisha about what happened with the director yesterday. Not yet. She's going to freak out. Part of me is still freaking out too. His not-so-subtle threats and warning about having eyes everywhere is not something I can downplay. Aisha and I grab small trowels to begin digging little holes in the earth where the seeds will go. Sohail approaches and squats next to us, sweat dripping down his neck. "I see you brought your shadow," he says to me, raising his eyebrow and tilting his head toward Jake. I look up at Jake. He still has that uneven tan on the back of his neck. When he escorted me to my trailer after that run-in with the director, he said he'd try to keep a closer eye on me too. He means to make me feel protected, but nothing about having people, or drones for that matter, watching me makes me feel safe. I put my trowel down and stick my fingers into the soil. It feels cool and moist against my skin. They brought in soil for this project because the desert dirt wasn't conducive to growing things. It's an expense, but maybe they think the price of appearing to be benevolent rulers instead of tyrants has a cost benefit. It's cheaper than bullets and burying bodies. The worrisome thing is it makes some of the internees feel that way too. Like maybe this isn't as bad as it could be. They're right. It could be much, much worse. And I'm afraid of being the reason it turns ugly. Uglier. "Listen, guys," I whisper to Sohail and Aisha. "I think we should put off the fast." Both Sohail and Aisha stop digging and look at me. Aisha squints against the sun as she looks in my eyes. "What?" Sohail asks in a loud voice. When a couple of heads turn to look at us, he immediately lowers his volume and continues. "Why? I've been recruiting people, as you can see. They're ready. We're ready." His voice is low, but there's an edge to it. Aisha rests her hand on his forearm for a second. "Ease up, Sohail. Maybe Layla has a reason." Then she turns her expectant face toward me. I quickly tell them what happened yesterday. Seeing David, almost getting caught, what the director said. Aisha wraps an arm around me. "I'm sorry. Are you okay?" Sohail asks. "Yeah, Jake was with me." Sohail raises an eyebrow. "I know you said you trust him." "I did, and that hasn't changed." I've doubted too, but I don't share that with them. I pick up my trowel and start digging again, and gesture for Aisha and Sohail to do the same. "I trust you," Aisha says to me, and then turns to Sohail, handing him a seed packet. "You should too." Sohail takes a breath and faces me. "I do trust you, Layla. But I don't trust his motives. Watch your back is all." He could still turn you in at any time. He's a guard. His job is to keep you imprisoned here. Don't forget that. I won't. And I'm not forgetting that people could get hurt or disappeared. And that's why I'm worried about doing the fast. Maybe it's too small. We'll all get taken away or tased, and then it will be over. That's a temper tantrum, not a revolution. And we need to organize better and steel ourselves for the days ahead. Whatever we do will be dangerous, and we can't be naive. Naivete comes at too high a cost. What was that quote from the girl from the White Rose? Aisha asks. She takes my hand in hers and squeezes. Someone has to make a start? I'm as scared as anyone else. I'm not a brave person, but I know we need to act before things get worse. This fast. Maybe it's small, but it's how we start. Sohail moves so he's facing both of us, but looks directly into Aisha's eyes. You're brave, he whispers. She gives him a soft smile. And you're right, Layla. We do still have to do this, now more than ever. Don't lose faith. Don't let complacency creep in. We're all scared. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's doing the right thing in spite of it. Hearing their words, looking at my friends, I know they're right. It's so hard to act when you also feel terrified all the time. That's what the director is counting on. Terror seeks silence, not screams. Aisha nudges Sohail. Dig, or they'll think you're conspiring. Or worse, flirting. I grin and look down, feigning interest in my trowel. From the corner of my eye, I notice Sohail smile at Aisha. The hum of a drone snares everyone's attention. Before it's on top of us, Sohail quickly murmurs, Friday, dinner fast. Everyone here is in. This is happening. The red metal of the drone glints in the blazing sun. I shield my eyes from the light and stare at the mechanical spy as if it has eyes. I grit my teeth and quash an impulse to throw a trowel at it. Jake catches my eye and gives me an almost imperceptible shake of the head. I'm not sure how he knows what I'm thinking. I mouth an okay and get back to work. We toil away for a couple hours in the heat, sweating and even finding moments to laugh. It's hard work, but I lose myself in the simple rhythm of digging a hole and planting a seed on repeat. As noon approaches, the group begins to break up, seeking shade and food. Aisha waves to me as she walks towards Sohail's block for lunch. She asked me to join them, but I give them their semblance of privacy. I dump my tools with the others and then refill my water bottle and take a long gulp. The dirt on my hands turns to mud as condensation appears almost instantly on the plastic. I wipe one hand, then the other on a small patch of my jeans that's not already dusty. My mom loved gardening. Jake's voice comes from behind me. As he approaches me, I refill my bottle. Loved? She doesn't any longer? She died when I was 12. Jake kicks at the earth with the back of his heel. In summer, I always remember her with dirt under her nails and on her jeans. She had a pair she only wore for gardening. I swear, the knees were made of mud patches. A melancholy smile spreads across his face. I'm sorry, I say. He shrugs. It's been a while. My brother was a lot older, already out of the house, and my dad and we made out okay. Jake's not looking at me while he talks. He's focusing on the mountains in the distance. It's the same look he had in his eyes when the director stopped us yesterday. Focused, but not on what's in front of him. I'm also keenly aware that this is the first time he's ever really talked about his life outside of being a guard. and the first time that I've ever really considered that he has one. That must have been hard, I say. My dad's a military guy, too. Army. Ran the house like clockwork. A rule for everything. I think that's kind of what saved me. The structure. In the military, everyone doing their job, the organization of it, that's what keeps you safe. That's how my dad showed his love, I think, by protecting us. He wasn't big on words or feelings. That was my mom's job. But she wasn't a softie either. Jake chuckles a little to himself. He doesn't say it, but the pained look in his eyes makes it clear he misses her. It's never easy to lose what you love, no matter how much order you have in your life. My voice cracks a little when I say this, and it surprises me. Jake finally turns to look at me, wearing that same sad smile, but a part of him is still focusing on something in the distance. I'm lying on my bed. My parents are still at work. I'll meet them in the mess for dinner. Normally, I use up my shower minutes at night, right before bed, but my body is coated with the salt from my dried sweat, and a dull ache has settled into my bones, and I want to rinse it all away. I close my eyes for a moment and imagine my deliciously soft bed and the worn kanta quilt. That bed, that home, feels like another lifetime. Like I was a different person. And now I have these memories of a life that is not my own. There's a knock on our door. Aisha said she'd stop by to give me the most likely chaste details about her lunch with Sohail. I whip off my towel turban and let the wet strands of my hair fall down my back and hurry to the door. Pulling it open, I say, "So how was so—" It's not Aisha. It's Jake. "Let me in, quick," he says, then pulls his lips together in a sort of grimace. I freeze for a moment, unsure what this means, why he's here. I feel the dampness of my hair soak through the back of my t-shirt, making me shiver. I look up and down the block. No one is around. I step aside, allowing him in, hoping, praying this is the right decision. We stand in the common area of my trailer. I dig my hands into my pockets and rock back and forth on my heels, waiting for Jake to say something. Jake steps toward me and smiles a huge fake grin and puts his hand on my shoulder. I flinch. He looks me in the eye and nods at me ever so slightly. He doesn't say a word, but he gestures to my bedroom and begins walking back there. When I don't move, he motions for me to follow. This is a huge leap of faith, and I hope it's not into the abyss. I suck in my breath and enter my room. Sohail's words of warning float in the air around me. Don't trust anyone. But I do trust my instincts. I pray those instincts are right. Jake shuts the door behind us. "Now what?" I say a little too loudly. Jake puts a finger to his lips and steps closer to me. "There's no camera in here, but keep your voice down anyway. Sorry to be mysterious, but the bedrooms are the only places the drones and cameras can't get to." "But they saw you on the camera in the common room coming into my bedroom. Isn't that suspicious?" A guard going into a woman's bedroom. Let's say it's probably happening, and the director doesn't care. Gross. That's just wrong. It's a guard and a prisoner. A prisoner can't consent. It's coercion. It's rape. I don't know any of the guards personally, but there is talk. Jake, you can't let it. You have to. I know. And if I see something happening, I will stop it. I swear. Now listen. What are you planning? Out there at the garden with everyone else? Nothing, I say flatly. Clearly he knows something, but I'm not sure I should tell him anything. Not even sure it's my right. It involves too many other people.
I understand why you're suspicious. It's smart. It's survival.
Jake makes a quick, precise exhale, and another one, almost like he's counting them in his head. He pulls off his cap and runs his hands through his short, dirty blonde hair, damp with sweat.
Look, the director. He's talking about bringing more guards in here. He feels the rumblings in the camp, an air of dissent. He's vindictive and petty, but he's not stupid. Remember that young Arab-American woman they dragged away?
My muscles go taut. I clench my hands into fists. Noor. She has a name.
Jake nods. Sorry, yes. Noor. You know how she wore an American flag hijab?
I nod.
Apparently it got torn off somewhere in the struggle, and it showed up this morning on the door of the admin building. Ripped, stained with blood, and scrawled across it in black marker was the word resist.
A strange kind of elation bubbles inside me. I don't know what happened to Noor or the other women. I'm afraid to even think about it. But Aisha, Sohail, me, we're not alone. No, it's not joy that's welling inside me. It's hope. Who? How? His security detail and the guards are everywhere by the admin building and the hub. Jake continues.
I know. Should not have been possible. He knows that too. A part of him fears it could be a guard.
My jaw drops. Holy shit. Jake continues.
The director went ballistic. And it's like he warned you. He wants more eyes, everywhere. He trusts me for now, and...
He trusts you? Is that supposed to make me feel better?
Yes, it should. Look, it took me a long time to get to this. Too long. It's what I was saying before. I grew up military. Orders were sacrosanct in my house. But I received counter-orders too. Being in here. Meeting you and the others. I finally understood the real mission. My sworn duty to protect this country from enemies foreign and domestic.
I don't quite get what he's trying to say, and he can read the quizzical look on my face.
Layla, I'm an exclusion guard, but that's not all. I've already said more than I should. Put you at risk.
What does that mean? And why? Why are you going along? I'm bursting with questions and confusion, and my head feels woozy. Jake takes a step toward me, closing the distance between us.
I'm sorry,
he says in a gentle, low voice that catches me off guard.
I hate going along with it, but I have to for now. And I'm sorry if anything I've done or may do hurts you. The director has to trust me. That's why he's having me keep an eagle eye on you. He thinks I have your confidence, and that I'll inform him of anything suspicious. I have to play along for now. It's the only way I can keep you safe.
His voice quiets to a whisper, and he gently wraps his fingers around my upper arm. I look down at his hands. Then he quickly pulls them away. I'm startled, but not afraid. I'm worried for me too. For all of us. Most days there isn't a moment I'm not scared. But there's a fire burning all around me, and I can't stand by and do nothing, and you should understand that. And isn't what you're doing putting you in danger?
I'm doing my duty, Layla. My sworn duty.
Well, I'm doing mine too. My voice is a squeak, and it makes me cringe. Jake's eyes soften.
I need you to understand. The director, what he said to you the other day, he won't be trifled with. He will hurt you, and I might not be able to stop him. And I can't...
Tears well in my eyes. I know the director can do things to us without anyone paying attention or caring. But if we don't do something now, if we stay silent, what's next? If we're going to be disappeared anyway, we can't go down without a fight. When I hear the words in my mind, they sound brave. But coming out of my mouth, they are weighted down by fear. Jake rubs his forehead.
I was afraid you were going to say that. Remember, you're not alone. There are dust-ups on the outside, protests at the White House. People are talking. The director is keeping that from you, from everyone, but it's not silent out there. It's loud and getting louder.
I muster a small smile. All the more reason for us to rise up on the inside. My voice breaks a little, and a tear trails down my cheek. I'm terrified, I whisper, and then clear my throat. I feel like I'm confessing something I shouldn't, but I don't know how to act strong, be strong all the time, when I'm mostly scared and alone and lonely. I look up at Jake, into his kind, warm eyes. He hesitates, reaches his arms out slightly. Then I hug him, and he wraps his arms around me, and they feel safe. A part of me knows this isn't right, but for this tiny moment, I need human comfort, and Jake's arms give me that. I want to draw from his strength, to bolster my own as it wavers in fear of what the future holds. But this also feels wrong. I open my eyes and push back against Jake, almost tripping over my shoes. He steps back, and a look of dismay crosses his face.
Layla, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't know what I was thinking.
I shake my head, and words spill from my lips. It's this place. I feel so alone. I miss David so much. It's like I'm in a crypt and the door is slowly being sealed shut, and I can't hold it open, and no one can hear me screaming. I look at him and see a guy a few years older than me. Someone who, in a different world, would be walking across the same college campus, who might help me find my way the first week of freshman year. The handsome senior who's the RA in my dorm. A friend. A confidant. But that world doesn't exist. He's a guard in my internment camp. That's reality. It is my present, and I'm trying desperately to make sure it isn't my future.
You're not alone, Layla. I'll do everything I can to protect you. The director believes me. He asked me to report on your activities, so I'll be close by, as much as I possibly can.
I mouth a silent thank you. I believe you. And we're planning...
Stop. I know I asked, but don't tell me. If I don't know, they can't get it out of me, no matter what.
Plausible deniability? I ask. That sounds so spy movie. I manage a small smile, but I realize what he really means. If you don't know the truth, they can't torture it out of you. Chapter 19. Layla, do you want to walk with us toward the hub? My mom calls from outside my bedroom door. The burner David gave me clatters to the floor. Shit. Are you okay? Fine. Dropped my hairbrush. I'll walk over with you guys. Give me a second. I yell, while grabbing the phone and tucking it between my mattress and the wall. I still haven't told Jake about it, and mostly I've been too scared to use it, and I can't have the sound on, ever. I'm trying to save the precious minutes for emergencies. Honestly, though, life in here is one giant emergency. Calling feels too risky, but I've texted David and plan to meet him again. Today. I check my front pocket for the 100th time this morning. My next article, safely tucked inside. My green and purple Wimbledon shirt hangs over the waist of my jeans. When I walk out of my room, my parents are sitting at the table finishing their tea. The small table abuts the wall of the trailer and sits beneath a window. This morning, the dust on the window filters the light as it beams in, bathing their daily routine in a kind of soft glow. Every time I step out in the morning and see them, they seem to have aged overnight, like sleep is actually draining life from them instead of recharging their batteries. I suppose that maybe they're not sleeping at all. But right now, in this light, I'm reminded of an old photo in a small oxidized silver frame that sits on my mom's dresser. It's them, but much younger, before I was born, sometime when they first met. My mom says a friend took it when they were visiting Paris. They're in a cafe, sitting at a small, round green table next to a plate glass window. Mom's red lacquered fingernails pop against the cream-colored coffee cup in her hands. My dad's curly hair flops over one of his eyes, and he's looking at her while she looks out the window, soft light falling on her face. Suddenly, I realize how beautiful and perfect that photo is. A lump forms in my throat. I walk over and kiss each of them on the cheek. My mom smiles at me, and my dad takes my hand. "I have something for you," he says, then hands over a paperback, its edges frayed and bent. "Persuasion?" I say. My dad nods. "The selection in the Hub library is not extensive, but there are some quality older titles in there. I think you'll really like this story. And don't you think it's time you got back to your regular studies?" I knit my eyebrows at my dad. My studies. Yes, that is the main thing I'm worried about in here, making sure I can pass the GED. They're running a makeshift school for the younger kids, but as of yet, there is no Mobius High giving out diplomas. I'm about to say something sarcastic, but I stop myself. "Thanks, Dad. I loved Pride and Prejudice. I'm sure I'll love this too." It's about a young woman, Anne Elliot, who is very modern in her own way. It's about characters not merely finding themselves, but remaining true to who they are. In some ways, at the time, it was considered quite subversive, my dad says, holding eye contact with me. Then he quickly adds, "Of course, that was a very long time ago, and now you can simply enjoy it. And then I'll have you write an essay on it." He hesitated to say that word, subversive. Changed his tune. The cameras, the eyes on us all the time, make us all masters of hiding the truth, but force us to find creative ways to communicate with one another too. More lies we tell to live. "Thanks, Dad. Can't wait to write an essay on it," I say, my tone perhaps a little too chipper. We head out the door together. My fingers shake. I'm hyper-aware of the note in my pocket and the queasy feeling in my stomach because of what I'm concealing now from my parents, from Aisha, from Jake. It's better for them not to know. Plausible deniability. Isn't that what Jake and I agreed to? Together with my parents, I walk down the midway. They smile and offer a salam to everyone we pass. Everyone returns the greeting in kind, like our smiles are real. When we're halfway there, I say goodbye to my parents, telling them I want to go back and get my book so I can read in the Hub library. I turn back and walk toward our block, looking over my shoulder to see them walk into the Hub. Then I cross through the camp to the blocks on the opposite side of the midway. People are out, heading toward their jobs, or taking the little ones to the grandparent daycare or school. Some people have laundry bags. Others carry empty boxes that they'll fill up with kitchen staples from the supply area. I don't run. I don't try to hide. I keep my eyes open for the drones and guards. I hear the sanitation trucks enter the gate and see the men in their khaki uniforms fan out around the camp. I don't spy David, but I know he's here. I walk to the side entrance of the mess. It's usually unguarded and unlocked when the garbage has to be taken out. I glance around cautiously and let myself in. Palms clammy and heart beating in my ears, I tiptoe to the kitchen. The mess is mostly dark, except for the lights along the perimeter of the room that let off a faint electronic buzz. I take care not to touch anything in the kitchen, afraid of the noise, afraid of what could happen. The pantry door is ajar. A light radiates from inside. I hold my breath and walk cautiously forward. As I place my fingers on the doorframe, a hand reaches out and grabs mine and pulls me. I fall into David's embrace. He kisses me so softly and deeply that it makes me want to cry. As scared as I am of hiding that burner phone between my mattress and the wall, I'm so thankful that it made this moment in the pantry of the mess possible. David nuzzles my neck. I miss you. Then he steps back. I have to show you something. He reaches into his khaki uniform and pulls his phone out and shows me the screen. A headline screams, "Fascism at Mobius, an insider speaks." They put it up as I was getting here, David whispers. KALA TV ran the story and read your post on the air. The reporter said to expect it to explode. It probably already has. The whole world is going to know you, or at least your words. Layla, you did it. You're amazing. David's words muffle in my ears. My eyes fix on the screen. I read the headline again, and it knocks the wind out of me. I scan the words, my words. And then I'm there again, in that moment, hearing it. Noor's screams. The security guys dragging her away. Asma and Bilquis, who tried to help her. Their blood staining the dry earth. The director. The gun. Tears fill my eyes. I whisper, "The whole world will know their names." David wipes away the tears from my cheeks, then kisses each one. Yes, everyone will know their names, thanks to you. And you, I say. I run my fingers through David's hair. It's damp from sweat. He's always there for me. Literally, he's here right now, next to me. But in this rare, unrushed moment, I'm aware that there's a tiny space between us, a distance that I don't know how to fill. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe it's because of the fight we had when he first snuck in here to see me. Maybe it's because of the electric fence that seems to separate us even when I'm in his arms. I don't know why exactly, but it feels awful. And I try to push that emotion away because I don't want to feel it. He's taking huge risks to see me, to help me. I want it all to be like it was. I am desperate for a brief moment of before with David. The minty smell of his soap, the warmth of his arms, how when our fingers intertwine, the brown of my skin and the brown of his are nearly a perfect match. All the familiar sensations of home. I need that feeling so badly right now. But as I grasp for it, I know it's out of reach, even though David is right next to me. I kiss him and then take his hand and pass him another story I've written out in tiny print. The hunger strike is tomorrow, I whisper. I'm scared for you. I am too. I'm scared for all of us. But Jake is keeping an eye out. David breaks from our embrace.
I know he's helped us, but are you sure you can trust him? That this isn't all a ruse?
I trust him. I know why you feel that way. I can't say more. I mean, I don't even know more. He could have already given me up like 100 times to the director, but he hasn't. He's on our side. David shakes his head.
I can't trust someone who has a gun on you, and you shouldn't either.
I take a deep breath. He won't hurt anyone, and he definitely won't hurt me. I promise. David raises an eyebrow.
Is there something else I should know? What are you not saying?
That space I'm imagining between us widens ever so slightly. No, it's not like that. Please, believe me. I love you. Plus, jealousy doesn't suit you. My heart is in a vice. Maybe David feels a little of that distance between us, too. The door slams, startling both of us.
Come out now. I know you're in here.
Jake's voice bellows through the mess, and we hear him stomp into the kitchen. I reach for the doorknob, but David touches my hand and shakes his head no. But it doesn't matter, because Jake pulls open the pantry door. His jaw is clenched. His face is grave and official. Angry. He's every inch the corporal right now.
This was stupid,
he whispers, but his voice seethes.
He knows.
Then he turns to me.
Do you have another story on you?
I open my mouth, hesitate.
There's no time. He's going to be here any minute. You need to give it to me.
I reach into David's pocket and pull out the piece of paper with my handwriting on it. I hand it to Jake, and he quickly tucks it into his boot. David looks at me, his mouth open in shock. The main door to the mess bursts open. All the lights are flipped on. The director marches into the kitchen with 2 of his private security detail. They aren't military. They aren't exclusion guards. They're the 2 who dragged Noor away. Private security doesn't need to uphold an oath to the Constitution. They are loyal to the director, and only to him.
Good work, Corporal Reynolds. Restrain Miss Amin.
Spit flies out of the director's mouth as he speaks. His face reddens to a deep crimson, the veins on his neck taut like wires pulled too tight. All my muscles tense. My breath goes raspy, like there's not enough air to breathe in the room. Every single time I'm frightened in here, I think that I've never been so scared. But always, I keep finding there's another level of fear I had no concept of. Jake is standing in front of us. He turns and looks at me, softening his eyes for the briefest of seconds. He takes me by the arm. I look wildly from the director to his security detail to Jake, and then to David. I jerk myself away from Jake and wrap my arms around David's neck and whisper, "Your phone! Instagram Live! Now!" Jake pulls me back, a look of shock in his eyes. "It was me! It was all me! David didn't do anything!" I say this knowing that none of it matters. The director rubs his hands together like he's washing them.
Thank you for that admission, Miss Amin. But I believe there is enough blame to go around. There certainly will be consequences for everyone involved.
The director's face is almost gleeful. It doesn't cause a shiver of fright. I'm long past simple fear. I feel like ants are running all over my skin. Like I know I'm in a nightmare, and I'm clawing to get the ants off me, but all I'm doing is hurting myself. I manage a few words. David's not an internee. He has civil rights. The rule of law exists. Jake, who is still holding onto my elbow, gently tugs at my arm, a warning that I'm digging a deeper hole for myself. But I have to say something. David is only here because of me, because I asked him to come, because I needed him. And now he's going to get hurt because I'm a selfish asshole.
I am the law, the director rages,
then motions to his private security detail. One of them grabs me from Jake. "No!" I scream as the man shoves me against the fridge. It happens so fast. My cheek slams against the hard, cold metal before I can grasp what is going on, and the voices and bodies blur around me. I hear Jake yell something about my being a minor. David steps out in front of the director. From the corner of my eye, I see him shaking.
"I'm sure the world is interested in how you're the law now and how you're hurting kids in here. Kids!"
He's holding his camera in front of him, filming. "I'm live streaming on Instagram. That's Layla Amin, Californian, American citizen." I catch David's eye as he steps closer to me and the man who is still holding me against the fridge. The director pulls at his collar, his face beet red. He's breathing so loudly through his nostrils that I expect him to exhale fire. Jake steps forward and moves the security detail away from me, gently pulling me back from the fridge and placing his hand at the small of my back. David keeps filming. Jake speaks in a calm, deliberate voice.
"Sorry about that."
Jake pauses slightly and looks at the director.
"Accident, Miss Amin. I'm sure the director would want you to get checked out at the infirmary. The Exclusion Authority has clear regulations on the treatment of minors at Mobius."
The director clears his throat and takes a step away from us, into the shadow of a large shelf of supplies.
"Yes, we want to make sure Miss Amin wasn't hurt because of this little snafu. We are simply trying to ascertain who might be spreading these lies about Mobius."
He pulls a tablet from his suit pocket.
"Miss Amin, I'm certain you can assure your boyfriend's viewers that these allegations are false."
I square myself to look the director in the eye. The left side of my face throbs and burns. I ball my hands into fists. "I can do no such thing, director." The director takes a stride toward me, but Jake steps between us and says,
"I'm sure Miss Amin can't comment because she doesn't have access to that story, sir."
The director narrows his eyes. The muscles in his neck bulge so much, and he's so red. I'm not sure he's even breathing. I'm not sure I'm breathing.
"Corporal, please escort our..."
He clears his throat.
"Our guest off-site and deliver Miss Amin to the infirmary, where I'm certain she'll get excellent care."
David keeps filming as the director marches out with his security detail. Once the door slams, David puts his phone down. He was narrating the whole time, I think, but I couldn't hear a thing besides the blood rushing in my ears. I collapsed to my knees, crying into my hands. David drops down next to me and strokes my back.
"Layla, are you okay?"
"I'm so sorry. I wish I could have done something." I raise my eyes to his and see that they're filled with tears. I wipe my face on my sleeve and wince. My cheek is swelling up. "You did, and there's nothing more you could have done," I say, and kiss him on the cheek. Jake steps to us and helps me up. David stands as well.
"I'd say you've done quite enough, David."
I turn to Jake, shocked that he could be so cruel after what almost happened, after what did happen. "Jake," I begin, but he cuts me off.
"Do you have any idea what you've done?"
He directs his remarks only to David.
"You're on the outside. She's in here. You may think you've gotten away with something, that you were clever. But you get to walk out of here and she doesn't. And what? Giving Layla a burner to keep in her trailer?
Then he turns to me.
Which I will be confiscating, by the way. Security is going to be tighter than ever now. This place will be Fort Knox.
David looks like he was punched in the gut. His eyes trail away from Jake to me. Devastated is the only word that comes to mind to describe him. As Jake spoke, I watched David's face and could almost feel the full range of his thoughts, starting with defensive anger and moving on to fear, then sadness, and finally horror. I know, because I felt those things too. Jake shakes his head.
We have to get you both out of here now.
We walk toward the main gate, Jake between us like a chaperone. David and I can't hold hands, and we definitely can't kiss goodbye. With each step, reality sinks in. That David will never be able to get in here again, even if Jake were willing to help us, which clearly he won't be. I feel utterly helpless as we stop in front of the gate. David turns to me and mouths, "I love you." He tries to step closer, but Jake positions himself between us. David gulps, then offers a hand to Jake.
Please keep her safe,
he says, his voice barely a scratch. Jake shakes David's hand and then calls over another guard. He whispers something close to the man's ear. The guard nods. David and I simply stare at each other. I know he feels like I do, overwhelmed by the truth that we are powerless right now. The other guard motions to David to follow him. He does, but for the entire distance to the gate, David walks with his head turned back, half smiling at me, like he's willing things to be okay. Jake pulls me away, toward the infirmary, and my heart wants to fight him, but my body can't anymore. Not now. So I give David one last longing look. Will he be okay? I ask. Jake sighs.
Yep. Fred will drive him back to town. Make sure he gets to his motel safely. Fred's also going to tell him to spread the hell out of that video. The director will be furious. It's bad enough David was live streaming, but knowing it will go viral, and after that post you wrote. That's why you were foolish to do this.
I know.
You've put yourself in danger. Your friends and parents, too.
I know.
And I can't be here all the time to keep an eye.
Jake! I say more loudly than I intended. I know. We totally fucked up. I didn't think through the consequences. I know you could be in danger too. Jake's shoulders sink.
Layla,
he says softly.
I'm not worried about me. Hell, the director thinks I got to you first to turn you in. I saved him in there. He'll probably trust me more. But knowing what he could do to you.
Jake touches my elbow. It might not be the time to ask this question, but what other time is there? What are you going to do with the article I wrote?
Don't worry. I'll get it out. After that story today, every news station and blog will be champing at the bit for more. You were right. The world needs to know what is happening here. The world needs to learn about the torture at the Black Ops sites and the disappearances of citizens.
I put my hand on Jake's arm. His muscles go taut. Be careful, Jake.
Don't worry about me. I'm the one with the gun, remember?
And what am I supposed to do?
Look, there's the Red Cross visit tomorrow. The director is tense. He wants to put on a good show. He can't afford to look like he's not in control. Command will be breathing down his neck with the information breach in here. So you'll be okay for now. And after that, well, I'll figure something out.
Jake grins, but it's a wan smile. There's no heart behind it. I don't believe his words, and I'm guessing he doesn't believe them either. Chapter 20. I stand in front of the door to my trailer and press the ice pack against my cheek. I squeeze my eyes shut, my mind turning and turning. My center cannot hold anymore. Any minute, gravity will triple and crush me like an empty soda can. When I open my eyes, I want to be on the beach. I want to walk into the ocean until I'm neck deep in the Pacific, its waves lapping at my shoulders. I want to breathe in the salt air and let the water wash the dust off my body and rinse the fear from my soul. I want to feel the sting of the sea in my eyes and be buoyed by the waves and carried across time to another life. Can that be possible? Can I slash the fabric of space-time and disappear from Mobius? I open my eyes. Apparently, wishing things into existence only works in fantasy, and reality is everywhere around me. My cheek stings. There is no way I can hide this from my parents. They might not hear about my Instagram fame, not immediately, because even when information does get in from the outside, it takes time. But they'll find out. How do I tell them I risked their lives to kiss my boyfriend? How do I tell them I wrote the post that is probably going viral? This place is already a prison. But when my parents learn what I've done, they won't let me leave the claustrophobic confines of this trailer. I walk in, resolved not to tell them the truth, knowing that for right now, for today, my lying might be best for all of us. As the door clicks shut behind me, an alarm blares across the camp and makes me jump back. Then an announcement echoes through the valley.
Return to your Mercury homes immediately. Await instructions via your media units.
I look out the window and see people rushing back to their trailers. My parents enter ours out of breath. I look at my mom's disheveled hair and the rattled look in my dad's eyes. Things are going to get worse for my parents because of me.
We rushed back from the hub,
my dad says, walking to the kitchen sink, where he fills a glass of water for my mom and then one for himself. They both lean against the tiny kitchen counter and take deep gulps. Then they look at my red, swollen cheek. My God, my mother says as she crosses to me and gently pulls the ice pack from my cheek to take a look. What happened, Beta? Did someone hurt you? No, I'm fine. I tripped on the stairs coming back to get my book and smashed my face against the door. I'm such a... The media unit flicks on, and the director's angry face fills the screen.
Our community has been betrayed. Someone has leaked lies about life here at Mobius, and these deceptions are agitating people on the outside. We will find the culprit, make no mistake. Until then, the entire community will be held accountable.
My jaw clenches. Rage burns inside me. The director means to scare people into submission. And it will work because more and more he wears his hatred on his face, losing the pretense of civility. Good. I'm glad. The mask is gone and the gloves are off, and I'm going to use my anger to steel my resolve. The director continues.
It is up to you, fellow citizens of Mobius, to out this hateful fearmonger who has so willfully disrupted the order in our peaceful community. Keep your eyes open for anything suspicious. If you see something, say something. Your minders are available day and night. Those who cooperate will find the rewards worth their while. As I announced last week, we will be hosting our friends from the Red Cross tomorrow. We will show them the pride we take in the community we've built here at Mobius.
We will show them our gardens and recreation areas and clinic and early childhood classes. We will show them the many benefits of our idyllic camp. They will dine with us in the mess, and we will all abide the regulations.
The director pauses to smile into the camera. It's not a smile, really. It's more of a snarl, a dare.
Never forget. Unity, security, prosperity.
I swear, I can see flames in his eyes. My parents' faces are ashen. Who would do something like that? My mom wonders out loud. And how? It's completely foolish. They're putting everyone in danger. She rests her head on my dad's shoulder. Maybe we don't know the whole story, I say. My mom raises her head and stares at me, like she's studying my face for the first time. I'm waiting for her to tell me there's no excuse for putting the whole camp at risk, that we should all try to get along in here as well as we can, follow the rules. Since our first moment here, my parents have been painfully cognizant of the camera in the common room of our Mercury home that captures every second of our lives. There is never a moment of ease, no relaxing, and that gnaws at you. You're right, Beta. I don't believe I'm hearing this, but I am. Mom continues. They have put us in danger, but we're in danger every moment anyway. Progress in this country always carries a component of risk. Every movement has civil rights, marriage equality, women's rights. My dad grabs my mom's hand and squeezes it. He gives her the slightest, almost imperceptible head shake. He glances at the camera, then swivels his head back to my mom. His bloodshot eyes are wide with fear. My mom kisses him on the cheek. In many ways, my parents seem so different from each other, but they possess this intimate mode of communication, a gesture, a look, a tone, that I envy. I wonder if I'll ever share that with someone, really find a person who understands me in a way that others don't. I love David so much, but right now there's also the cracked earth between us. My mom reaches out for me so that she's holding both our hands. She whispers, "We'll be okay." I so much want to believe her. I'm sure she wants to believe herself, too. Maybe she does. Maybe she has more faith than I do. My dad certainly does. My heart lightens a bit now, here with my parents. Even hearing my mom say those words makes this trailer feel less like solitary confinement. But I'm not willing to endanger their lives. I'll never tell my parents that it was me, that David and I are the disruptors, that Jake is helping, that this is merely the beginning, that a bruised cheek barely even scratches the surface of what the director could do. My parents would try to stop me. It's their job to protect me, I get that. But I have a job to do too, despite the fear rising from my gut and threatening to explode every cell in my body. So no, director, I will not abide. Dinner in the mess passes quietly. No one is in much of a mood to talk after the director's threats this afternoon. The minders greet everyone in their usual, too cheerful to be sincere tones, pretending that everything is normal. Aisha, Sohail, and I, along with the other gardeners and plotters, nod at one another. The fast is planned for tomorrow, the same day as the Red Cross visit, to be most impactful, to raise the stakes. But with my article out in the world, I've made the risks a lot higher. Is it possible to feel seasick in the desert? Because I do, and it must be written all over my face. When Sohail passes me, he whispers, "Nice work. Dig in. It's about to get real." I nod, try to screw my courage to the sticking place.
He means his words to be reassuring, but I don't think any words could possibly sound heartening right now. People quietly shuffle through the dust back to their Mercury homes. Even though we are in an open-air camp, we breathe the recycled air of dread and anxiety. Like everyone else, I wonder about tomorrow. Hope, fear, anticipation. The Minders assign all of us special jobs for the Red Cross visit. They remind us about the rewards the director will bestow if the visit runs smoothly. We'll never know what those pathetic rewards will be. Some people will be angry. Some people are willing to settle for crumbs. But the only reward we want is freedom. Though it's not exactly a reward when you're born with freedom and a thief sneaks into your home at night and steals it from you. It's something that's rightfully ours. We want it back. Every muscle in my body is strained, like a rubber band stretched a millimeter too far. When I walk through our door, I head straight to the shower. I let the water wash off the dust and the stress and the hurt of the day. I stare at the muddied water as it swirls down the drain. I take my first unencumbered breath. The timer dings. The water stops. Of course it does. My parents are watching one of the approved TV shows on the media unit and trying to escape into another world. I wish them a good night and step into my room, tucking myself into bed and pulling the covers up to my neck. My body sinks into the mattress, and my eyelids droop shut. My sleep is deep and dreamless, but a nightmare wakes me with a start. I almost bang my head against the bunk, but duck in time. I don't remember the dream exactly, but everything inside this place is the stuff of nightmares. I slide my legs off the bed and step to the small window in my room. The sky is clear and full of stars. The mountains are silhouettes in the moonlight. It is beautiful here. But that's all on the other side of the fence, unreachable, like our freedom. So close, so far. I wonder if I'll ever look at mountains or a starry night sky the same way once we get out of here. If. Will their beauty always be marred by memories of Mobius? Will beauty simply cease to exist for me? I'm scared for tomorrow. The fast, the protest. I look east past the mountains. I hear Nani's voice in my head, another prayer she used to whisper over me. A prayer that her own Nani shared with her, the one she said over and over during the partition in India, when she was terrified of the mobs and the horror the British left in their wake. God, protect me against them, however you may wish. Protect us. Chapter 21. I wake to loud knocking. A voice bellows through the door. Get up! They're here! My heart leaps out of my chest. Those bangs sounded like they came from inside my head. I look around and see the sun screaming through the blinds. My groggy brain realizes where I am. I bolt out of bed and proceed to bump my head on the frame of the bunk. I'm at a 50% rate for smacking my head when I wake up. I rub the unlucky spot on my skull and clear my throat. Aisha? Who's here? I'm coming in! Aisha barges through the door as I stand up, rubbing the sleep from my eyes. She looks annoyingly awake. Hurry up! Here, put this on! Aisha hands me a worn gray Wonder Woman t-shirt and a pair of jeans. As I'm dressing, she continues. There are people, press, protesters, outside the gate. What? I thought you meant the Red Cross. Them too. I wonder if David is with the protesters. He must have come back. He wouldn't stay away, not from this. I grab the toothbrush that Aisha has prepped with toothpaste. "How many?" I speak between brushing and spitting. "I don't know, but let's go." I pull on a baseball hat, tugging my hair through the loop in the back, and run out with Aisha. My parents are already at their job assignments for the day, so for now at least, I don't have to worry about them trying to stop me. We run down the midway, past the hub, and then come to an abrupt stop. Outside the fence are a couple hundred protesters. Some hold signs. Free Mobius. No hate in the United States. America already is great. America, all are welcome. Police officers stand in a line, separating the protesters from the orange plastic barriers that sprang up outside overnight in front of the electrified fence. In case, I suppose, the protesters missed the giant white signs emblazoned with a danger warning. 6 white news vans line the dusty road to the camp, and we see reporters prepping to go live with their camera crews. I blink back tears. I don't dare have expectations, but I have hope. I feel dizzy, like when I haven't eaten in a while, and being woozy reminds me that I'm hungry. Then I see David, standing, chanting with the protesters. "No justice! No peace!" I see him, fist in the air, brown hair mussed from the wind. He's wearing the same Wilco shirt I have, and he is beautiful. "David!" I scream and run toward the fence. I want him to see me. I want him to know I'm okay. I'm ready. A row of exclusion guards stands between me and the electrified boundary. "David!" I call again, jumping up and down to catch a glimpse of him over the shoulders of the guards blocking me and of the police holding him back. I squint against the sun and peer between the guards to see David grinning madly and waving, sweat gleaming across his brown skin. The police won't let him move closer because they're trying to keep the protesters far from the fence. But we see each other, and I blow him a kiss, and he mouths an "I love you" before being jostled back into the crowd. A small caravan of cars drives down the road and stops at the Mobius entrance gate so guards can check IDs and inspect the vehicles. As they do, the director walks out among the crowd that is gathered inside the camp. He has a huge fake smile plastered on his face. I wonder if he's ever fooled anyone with it. I wonder if he can fool himself. "Okay, everyone. We've got a busy day ahead. Time to disperse. Let's get to work. It's a beautiful morning." He speaks into a bullhorn so he can be heard above the chanting protesters, but otherwise he ignores them. He's not even looking at them. It's like he's looking through them, like his brain simply can't compute their existence. The gates open, and the Red Cross vehicles are allowed in. The police keep the protesters back. I strain to get another look at David, but I've lost sight of him. "Let's go," Jake says, directing me away from the line of his fellow exclusion guards. "We need to clear the area." A lot of us are milling around, and the guards are being unusually nice as they try to nudge everyone to their work assignments or back to their trailers. This is probably the best chance I have to speak to Jake. I scoot up next to him. How did this happen? Like, when? Who? How? Cars were pulling in all night, joining the folks who were already here. Your blog posts went viral in a huge way, and that Instagram Live clip. They were on all the major news stations, and they set social media on fire. There were already people coming together to raise their voices, but your words, you were a catalyst. Occupy Mobius, that coalition of resistance groups, organized a protest. Their hashtag is trending. They're exploiting a flaw in the executive order. All the land inside the fence is under War Department jurisdiction.
But outside that fence, it's California. And the governor here, he's not a fan of the president or his racist politics. I hear Jake's words. I see the protesters. I smile. Not the usual smile that I muster in here. The hollow, polite smile we all wear that says, "Go along. Keep your head down. Pretend." But a real smile. The kind that makes your body light up from the inside, that makes your cheeks hurt. It's a smile that reminds me I am alive. The day has been meticulously planned. I watch as the guards shoo internees away and minders usher us to our tasks. The director does not want to take any chances during the Red Cross visit, and with the press and the protesters here too, I imagine the burning anger behind the director's false grin. I hope it makes him spontaneously combust. The Red Cross team is easy to recognize, with their white t-shirts emblazoned with the large red symbol known the world over. A group of laughing, smiling minders ushers them into the hub, where their official visit begins. I wonder if all traders feel so at ease. The Red Cross will be spending the day at Mobius, visiting the clinic, the garden, the playground, watching some kind of star-spangled patriotic review the early childhood teachers put together, touring Block 1, where the Mercury homes have been specially scrubbed and prepped for the visit. Then they will dine with everyone in the mess. The director will be with them all day, smiling, glad-handing, and pretending life in the camp is somehow enviable, exceeding humanitarian requirements. It's all a cosmic joke. I learned about the Red Cross visit to the model Nazi concentration camp Theresienstadt when I visited the Holocaust Museum in D.C. on a trip with my parents. The prisoners there received special privileges. They didn't have their heads shaved. They wore regular clothes. They were even paid for their forced labor and could use the fake money at a cafe and thrift stores the Nazis set up in the camp. There were classes and parks for the children. When the Red Cross was there, the kids were forced to put on a musical. It was a sick hoax, and the Red Cross bought into the Nazi propaganda. The camp passed the inspection with flying colors. Afterward, many of the prisoners at the camp were eventually sent to Auschwitz or other extermination camps. Most were killed. If the Red Cross thought Nazi concentration camps were fine, they're going to think this place is a fucking utopia. I scan the protesters for another glimpse of David, but I can barely see past the fence. Between the line of exclusion guards on the inside and the cops in formation on the outside, I can't see a thing. But I hear the protesters. "The people, united, will never be defeated!" Jake catches up with Aisha and me to escort us back to our block. But Aisha and I are not returning to our Mercury homes. We're meeting up with Sohail, Nadia, and Nadim at the rock garden. With the director's attention elsewhere, and the drones quiet for the day to make the Red Cross visitors more comfortable, this is a rare moment we need to take advantage of. "We're good from here, Jake," I say, expecting him to walk back to his post. "You're meeting the others, right?" "I'm coming along," he says. Aisha looks at him. "How could you know that? We only decided that among ourselves like 30 minutes ago." "I heard Sohail talking about it to one of his friends as the crowd scattered. You're not being cautious enough. Not by a long shot. That won't end well. Trust me." We look at each other. Aisha shrugs. "I guess he knows pretty much everything anyway." When Sohail sees the three of us arriving at the garden, he taps Nadim on the shoulder and says something to Nadia. They turn to face us. "It's okay," I say. "He's cool." Sohail looks at us. "I don't know what you mean. I thought we were going to hang out. I didn't realize we had to do it under armed guard."
Aisha puts her hand on Sohail's arm. It's fine. He knows. Sohail turns and kicks a rock, then watches it sail toward the midway and roll to a stop, dust rising and settling in its wake. What are you two thinking? He's the enemy. He's a guard, and don't think for 1 second he won't shoot us if he is ordered to. I wouldn't do that. I won't. Not even if I'm ordered to. You have my word. And I'm not turning you in. I'm here to help you, Jake says. And why should we believe that? Sohail is incredulous. He should be. He's being smart. Because he's telling the truth, I say. He saved David and me. He took another story I wrote and hid it before the director could find it on us, and he gave it to that blog. He put himself on the line for us. So yeah, I'm saying we can trust him. The Inside Mobius blog posts have gone viral, and the clip of Layla with the director too, Jake says. Every media outlet is covering them, and Anonymous put out a warning to the administration, threatening to dox them all if they don't close the camp down. There's even an Occupy Mobius website that's covering the protest and putting out daily calls to action. And they're starting a podcast on site, Voice of Dissent. Aisha hugs me. You did this, she whispers. It wasn't me, I say. It was all of us. Aisha winks at me. It takes a village to raise a camp. She gets a grin from Sohail. Fine, Sohail says. I'll go along, but I don't like it. Nadia adds, but if his ass is on the line, what's to prevent him from turning us all in to save himself? What's to prevent any one of us from doing that? I ask. It's not like we're trained to withstand torture. I wouldn't give anyone up, Sohail says, no matter what they do to me. Nadim, who is maybe a couple of years older than Sohail and also plays soccer with the little kids on the midway, puts his hand on Sohail's shoulder and says, Listen, man, you're my brother, and I believe you mean that. But torture? No. None of us can hold up to anything serious. Didn't you read about what they did to those guys at Guantanamo? I won't turn you in, any of you. And I have seer training, Jake says. We all look at him. I shrug and raise my palms. I don't think any of us know what that means, I say. Survival, evasion, resistance, escape. Jake speaks in short clips. I can imagine him barking those words in response to an order. So that means you won't give in to torture? Nadia asks and crosses her arms. There's no guarantee. Seer is only training. I'm sure I could sustain some level of duress. Every human being has a breaking point, but you have my word that I will resist. I look in Jake's eyes and see that he means it. He believes his own words, and I'm glad he does. He has to. But even he can't know the truth of what could happen, what he could endure, what he would confess if things got bad enough. Human beings are capable of so many wondrous things, but there's no limit to the horrible things we do to one another. I shudder. Honestly, torture is not an idea I want to think about. The word alone makes my stomach queasy, and if I imagine too much, I'm afraid I won't do what needs to be done. That's great for you, man, Sohail says. But you've gone along this whole time. You were on the train that brought us here. You weren't exactly trying to sabotage the tracks. Sohail's voice is tight, strained. Sohail, it's not like that. No, Jake interrupts. He's right. It was exactly like that. Jake looks Sohail in the eye. I know why you don't trust me. And you're smart to be suspicious.
Most of my unit was absorbed into the exclusion guard. I followed orders. I did what I was told. Orders are what I know. But for too long, I forgot my sworn duty. To America. To Americans. And I am sorry. I have new orders now that countermand the illegal orders that started this camp. I don't answer to the director. Not anymore. But the director trusts me. We've weaponized whiteness in this country. So why not use mine to your advantage now?
Thank you, Corporal Reynolds, Aisha says.
You don't need to thank me. I'm not the brave one.
Sohail nods at Jake.
You're right. And I'm not thanking you.
I clear my throat. I think we know where we all stand. Now, are we ready for tonight?
We're ready,
Sohail says.
Nadim, how many people did you last count?
25, Nadim says.
They all know what to do. Sit at the first table with empty trays. No food, no water. It's enough people to draw attention.
What do you think, Jake? What's the director going to do? I ask.
Hard to know. He'll be furious, but the question is whether he will crack down with the Red Cross visitors present. There are 2 reporters traveling with them, and I doubt the director will want more bad press. But after they leave, that's when it will get ugly. He'll know who all of you are. He'll know you've been conspiring, and he will not come down easy. As long as the press and the protesters are outside, you'll have some cover. But he's counting on them leaving.
We can't let them leave, Aisha says. But how can we make them stay? Jake, if I write another blog post, can you get it out there? Can you leave the camp with it? I ask. Jake nods.
Easy enough.
Let's do this, I say, trying to sound resolute. I'll see you guys at the mess tonight. Meanwhile, keep your heads low. I leave Aisha with Sohail, Nadim, and Nadia and hurry to my Mercury home with Jake. Once there, we walk straight into my room and shut the door. I pull out a pad of paper and scribble a couple of paragraphs about the fast we're planning for tonight. I write about the Red Cross and the threatening announcement, and the meticulous preparation for the visit that is supposed to showcase Mobius as a camp upon which all future camps can be modeled. The writing is rough, but we're running out of time, so it will do. I hand the note to Jake. Thank you for this, and for the risks you're taking. Sorry if it puts you in any danger. Is helping us on the inside like this part of your special orders, or whatever?
Remember when I told you that when you don't know the truth, people can't force you to tell it? Best to keep things distant.
Jake gives me a wistful smile and tucks the note into his pocket.
I'll get this into the right hands as soon as I can.
He opens the door and lets himself out. I watch him leave, then shut my bedroom door. I go to lie down on my bunk, mind racing. Everyone is in danger, all the time. The director demands loyalty from those around him. What would the director do to Jake if he were to catch him with my note? I've leaned on Jake. I can't imagine going through this without him. And Aisha and Sohail? Nadia? Nadim? The others? Once we draw attention to ourselves, there will be nowhere to hide. The director will know who we are, and hell will rain down. I nestle my cheek into my pillow and think of David. My body warms at the memory of him. He's outside the fence, out of reach. Will that keep him safe? I might never be able to be in his arms again, but he's here, close. For now, that's enough. My feelings bang around in the bell jar of this imprisonment, this camp. I clutch my stomach and close my eyes and wish it all away. Stop the automatic thinking, the spontaneous overflow of worst-case scenarios. There's no time for that. And neither my feelings for David nor my sympathies for Jake are important right now. I need to keep telling our story to the world until everyone listens. I can't afford to be distracted. The fast is tonight. People can get hurt. One of those people could be me. Chapter 22. Since my parents arrived back at the trailer this afternoon from their jobs, they've been in unsettlingly good spirits. The visit from the Red Cross has buoyed them. I don't want to be the one to burst their bubble. Not yet. I talked to one of the aid workers for a few minutes at the clinic, my mom says, as she tucks a few stray hairs into her otherwise neat bun. We're sitting on the vinyl sofa in the common area of the trailer while Dad washes the mugs that were in the sink. She told me folks are thinking of us. They know we're not the enemy of America, know that we're not an other, that we're the us, too. That's great, Mom, I say, happy that my mother seems brighter than she has these past few weeks. It's been so hard to see her spirit being stripped away. But I fear her joy will be very short-lived. I imagine the terror my parents will feel when I sit with the others at dinner, refusing to eat, silently protesting in front of the director and the Red Cross. Yes, I believe the Red Cross staff will be joining our tables this evening. It'll be nice to hear some news from the outside, my dad adds as he finishes the dishes and dries his hands. I'm going to sit with Aisha and some of the others, since the director is letting us choose tables tonight. That's wonderful, honey. My mom strokes my hair. So glad you've been making friends here. It's good to make the best of any situation. I don't want to make the best of it, and I hate that my parents and I have to put on an act in this trailer, a space that should be private. It's all a reality show, plotted to make the director happy. But tonight, some of us are going off script. My parents and I walk out of our trailer and join the scores of other internees who are heading for the mess. When we enter, I see some Red Cross observers chatting with small groups of internees and others with the director. Sohail and Nadim are already seated with Aisha at the first table. I kiss my parents on the cheeks and join my friends. Aisha squeezes my hand under the table when I take the seat next to her. Ready? Probably not, but we're doing this. I press her hand in return. In minutes, the tables are full, and the director stomps to the front of the room in the same dark suit he wore at the orientation. I wonder if his face hurts because the same smile has been plastered on it since this morning. The grin may be fake, but in his eyes, there's nothing but confidence and the belief that his cruelty is justified. The director clears his throat, then waits. He always waits for absolute silence before he begins. On behalf of the Mobius community, I want to thank the Red Cross and the journalists who've joined us for a wonderful visit today. They can see what a peaceful, vibrant community we've built here. We embody unity, security, prosperity. Now enjoy your dinner. You're among friends. The minders will call out tables starting from the back. We wait patiently for our number to be called. Others file past the food stations, filling their plates and chatting with the Red Cross team members who join them at the tables. When a minder calls table 1 to head to the food line, none of us moves. My mouth is dry as sawdust and tastes like it too. I rub the back of my neck. The minder sticks his chicken neck out, staring at us. Table 1, he calls again, louder this time. When none of us moves, he takes long strides over to us, bends his head, and says in an angry whisper, I called your table. Now stand up and get your food. We glance at one another uneasily, but stay seated. We don't acknowledge him. I feel twin surges of pride and panic as no one budges. The minder walks over to the director, who is speaking with the Red Cross team leader. The director excuses himself and walks to our table. He's still grinning, but telltale angry red blotches have traveled from his neck to his face. "Table 1. Take your meals." He speaks slowly and enunciates each word. By now, everyone has put down their forks to watch the scene unfold. I'm glad I'm not facing my parents, but even with my back to them, I can imagine the wild panic in their hearts. And I'm sorry, but not sorry enough to stop. The director turns his face away for a moment and smirks. It's not the fake smile he's worn all day. I've seen this look before, when he confronted David and me. It's the grin that precedes his rage. He thinks he's in control, but he's not clever and self-aware enough to stop himself from exploding. He spins around in a fury and slams both of his thick fists down on the table. "I said, get up now!" The table rattles. My brain rattles. His yell rings through the mess. There are audible gasps. Some people rise from their chairs, and I see 2 reporters standing by the wall with their phones out, recording. Sohail speaks loudly and clearly, directing his comments to the reporters. "We're protesting the illegality of Mobius. We're protesting the violation of the civil rights of the Muslim community. We want the world to know that there are internees who have been tortured and disappeared. Here, on American soil, we are being held without cause or trial." A sheen of sweat appears on the director's face. His lips curl up over his teeth. I can almost see him struggling, trying to control himself in front of the reporters and the Red Cross. But it's too late. He's lost. He curls his right hand into a fist and lands a vicious punch across Sohail's face. I hear a crack. Blood spurts from Sohail's nose and mouth as he falls to the ground with a thud. There's a single piercing shriek. I have no idea from where. Then pandemonium. Aisha screams. She and I rush to Sohail's side, snatching napkins to wipe away the blood. The reporters leap forward into the crowd that surrounds Sohail, their phone cameras capturing the chaos. I look up and see that the members of the Red Cross form a cordon between us and the director, who is raging at them, his face nearly crimson. His own security guards hold him back as he screams at them. The Red Cross team leader, a middle-aged man with deep wrinkles on his forehead, is shouting, trying to be heard above the commotion. All I can hear is violation of the Geneva Convention and prisoners of war. Dr. Mahar from the clinic pushes his way through the crowd. We've gotten Sohail up and seated on the floor, clutching napkins to his nose, trying to stop the stream of blood pouring out. Dr. Mahar bends down to examine him. Aisha stays at Sohail's side, holding his hand, whispering to him. I stand up to scan the room. The minders work with the guards to get people out of the mess. I catch sight of my parents, who look at me, disbelief and confusion in their eyes. My mom extends her hand toward me, but she is caught up in the crowd pushing toward the exit. The director is now in a corner talking with some of his security guards. The Red Cross team leader is on his phone. The doors burst open, and what seems like an entire army of exclusion guards marches in, roughly pushing through the crowd. People scream as they are thrown to the ground or shoved out of the way. The members of the director's security detail trudge up to the 2 journalists and seize their phones. The reporters object loudly. One of them yells something about Article 79 and wartime protection for journalists. But it doesn't matter. We all watch helplessly as their phones clatter to the floor. One of the private security guys shatters both with the butt of his rifle. I was scared before, but as I watch the guards pull apart the wall of Red Cross members in front of us, I'm powerless to move. The team leader protests to the director, who brushes him off and barks orders to the guards. Dr. Mahar and another man help Sohail up and move toward the team leader, who reaches his arm out toward them as he yells into his phone. A fire alarm goes off and the sprinklers switch on, drenching everyone. The crowd surges forward. I search for my parents, but I can't find them anywhere. My head spins. My stomach lurches. I don't know where to go. Come on! Aisha takes my hand and pulls me out of the crowd. She drags me against the stream of people heading toward the main exit, and we reach a side door. She shoves it open, and Jake takes her by the shoulders. "You've got to get back to your trailers, now! Follow me!" he shouts. Nadim and some of the others flee toward their blocks. Aisha and I hurry to keep up, following Jake toward Block 2. He takes a circuitous route around the hub, away from the mass of exclusion guards and internees who are still pouring out of the mess and toward the midway. As we pass the hub, I see the lights blazing outside the camp. Other internees are running, screaming. The protesters are standing up, peering around the police, trying to catch a glimpse of the uproar. Camera crews rush toward the fence and are stopped by police, but they still seem to be filming. The dust kicks up around us, swirling in eddies, and the air trembles with a thwip, thwip, thwip as a helicopter flies overhead. I guess we've succeeded in getting some attention. Lights from the watchtowers illuminate the camp. People rush toward their Mercury homes. I stand frozen, watching as a man is pushed to the ground by a guard and then kicked in the stomach and head. I scream, but I'm only one of hundreds of voices that bleed into the madness. Somewhere in the chaos, I realize I'm not holding Aisha's hand anymore. Jake's not here either. I've lost sight of both of them in the dust and swirl of screaming people. I run toward the fence, hoping to catch a glimpse of David. Emergency vehicles race up the road to Mobius, and protesters cover their mouths and noses with bandanas or tuck their faces into their shirts to avoid the billowing clouds of dirt. A police officer yells into a bullhorn, ordering them away from the fence. Some protesters flee to their cars. I run along the inner side of the fence, as close as I can get, calling out David's name. But the sounds of the helicopter blades and sirens mute my screams in the blizzard of dust. I sprint back to Block 2, hoping I'll find my parents already at our trailer. 2 other helicopters appear, filling the air with even more dust, so the visibility on the ground drops to a foot or 2, if that. My eyes burn, and tears stream down my face and mix with the dust that cakes my cheeks, so when I dab at them, my fingers come away muddy. Cough, sputter, try to breathe. All around, I hear the cries of internees running to their trailers, searching for some air to breathe. People bump into one another, carrying their children, covering their mouths, shielding their eyes. As I near my block, I see Jake helping my neighbors into their trailers. When he sees me, he runs over and pulls me into my Mercury home. Slamming the door shut, he steps to the kitchen, grabs a dish towel from the edge of the sink, fills a glass with water, and walks into my room. I follow him and shut the door behind us. He wets the cloth and sweeps it across my eyelids, cheeks, nose, and lips, tenderly removing the dust from my face. He pauses and looks into my eyes, then hands me the towel and the glass of water. "Sip," he instructs. I take a few tentative sips and then drink the entire glass in a long gulp. It's the first time I'm aware of being thankful for clean, cool water. I hand the empty glass back to him. "Aisha?" I ask.
She's fine. Her parents and brother are back with her in their trailer.
He moves his hand to cut my cheek, but pulls it away. I look into his worried eyes. My parents, have you seen them? I tried, but I couldn't. The dust?
I'm sure they'll be okay. Once they get back, you all need to stay put. Do not leave this trailer. Hear me? It's a god-awful mess out there, and I'm sure there's going to be a lockdown.
A lockdown?
I'm guessing the movements of the internees are about to get a lot more controlled. No one in or out. The director is going to have to somehow convince the higher-ups that he wasn't at fault for this shit show, and that he is still in control.
I take a deep breath. Sohail? What do you think will happen to him? Dr. Mahar said the director broke his nose.
You should be happy that's all that happened. And he's lucky the Red Cross visitors were here. They'll get him out. The director stepped way over the line when he hit Sohail. In front of reporters? I mean, the president is going to be apoplectic over this. He's been trying to hide it all, and now he's got journalists whose cameras were smashed and an articulate and charismatic young man who will be on the outside with the Red Cross protecting him, ready to tell his story to hungry press outlets.
So our plan worked?
I'd say so.
Jake pauses and puts his hand on my shoulder.
Things will be more dangerous than ever for you and your friends now. The Occupy blog posted your story right before the incident at the mess. Between that and all the coverage tonight's chaos is going to get, you have the world's attention. But the director is going to zero in on you like a target.
What about you? They saw you walk in here with me. Will you be okay? I ask.
It's havoc out there. I don't know. I have a friend in surveillance, so...
A friend?
Remember, I said I wasn't the only one here on your side. The only side that matters.
Jake gives me a small smile. Don't worry about me. I'll be fine. But I have to go back out to find my parents, I say. We step into the common area. The trailer door slams open. My parents, like phantoms made of dust, walk in, but stop short when they see Jake standing in our kitchen. I exhale, deeply. If my parents had seen Jake come out of my room, it might have induced dual heart attacks.
Ma'am? Sir?
Jake nods.
I was seeing to it that Layla got home safe. I told her that it was best for you not to leave your trailer. I'm sure instructions will follow shortly.
My parents look too shocked to move or speak. We understand, Corporal Reynolds, I say, as I walk past my parents to open the door for him. We'll make sure to stay inside. When he steps out, I whisper a thank you. He gives me a sad, obligatory smile and then marches away, disappearing into the yellow, dust-filled air.
What was he doing here? Are you okay?
My dad asks. I'm fine. I stumbled while I was running and he helped me back. My mom glances at the camera and chokes back words. The hesitancy in her eyes makes me want to reassure her, but I don't think I can explain in any way that will satisfy my parents. They walk past me to the sink and begin wiping the dust and grime off their faces. What were you kids thinking? Look what you've done! My mom doesn't hold back. People got hurt. Sohail? It could have ended much, much worse for him. Actions have consequences, and now we're all about to face them, thanks to the stunt you and your friends pulled. Part of me wants to believe she's doing this for the camera, putting on a show of anger for them, whoever they are. I've begun picturing each camera trained on us as the eye of Sauron. Perhaps she believes that acting the part of the livid parent will make the consequences less severe for me, show that I was merely being a ridiculous child, that I'm not a threat. But for the director, even the slightest disobedience endangers his vision of his absolute authority in here. I want her to be proud of me for taking a stand, but if she has any pride at all, it's been consumed by her fear.
Your mother's right, Layla. That was foolish indeed.
As always, my dad keeps his composure, but there's anger in him, too. I can see it in his rigid posture and hear it in the deep, flat tone of his voice. I open my mouth, but before I can reply, before I can formulate the right thing to say, my parents turn their backs to me, shuffle into their room, and shut the door. So they're going with the mostly cold shoulder. I would have preferred more yelling from my mom, or any form of raised voice from my dad for that matter. The truth, that's what I want. For us to be honest with one another, to be free to hash out our feelings in the open. But there is no open here, only razor wire and electric fences, where all our truths are trapped. I walk into my own room, slamming the door behind me, eyes stinging from dust and bitterness. I strip and throw my clothes into a heap in the corner. Tiny particles of dust rise into the air and drift soundlessly back to the ground. Outside beckons. I want to run into the foothills and scream into the canyons. I want my voice to echo and crack the ground beneath my feet. The shower timer clicks on. I'm guessing it's my mom trying to rinse off her fear and disappointment. I imagine stepping into a warm, sudsy bath and how the water would feel on my skin. The luxury of water seeping into every one of my pores and making me clean again. Dirt-caked fingernails are my constant companions here. Dirty nails and terror. I step to the sink and scrub my hands under the water until they are pink and raw. The door to my parents' room opens and closes a couple more times. When I'm sure they've retired for the night, I tiptoe out and into the shower. But a stream of screaming cold water greets me. We ran out of hot water. One more slap in the face. I step out, wrap my shivering body in a towel, and head back into my room. My fingers tremble as I put on my warmest PJs and add a sweatshirt. After putting my wet hair in a towel turban, I crawl into bed. Every muscle in my body aches, so even this stupidly hard bunk mattress feels welcome. I wish I could make my parents understand, persuade them to speak up, act out. But they're so angry with me for taking risks. They want to bide their time until one day we are magically released and the president isn't some raging fascist. That will be never. I don't want to spend my life in this place. I don't want to die in here. But maybe there are some things worse than death. Chapter 23. The camp-wide siren booms. 6 a.m. I roll out of bed and walk into the common room of our trailer. Apparently, my parents either have not slept or have been up for a while, since they are already dressed and drinking tea. "What's going on?" I ask. My mother simply shrugs. My dad walks to the window and looks out, shaking his head. The media unit blinks on. The director's red-rimmed eyes shoot daggers at us through the screen.
After last night's insubordination, we will have new rules at Mobius. You will report for roll call every morning at 6:30 a.m. to be marked present by your minders. At 7 a.m., you will proceed to your jobs or classes. Those not on duty or in class will be confined to their block. Dinner at the mess remains promptly at 6 p.m. A 9 p.m. curfew will be strictly enforced. At that time, you are to remain in your Mercury home until roll call the next morning. Anyone found in violation of these regulations will be dealt with accordingly. Make no mistake, the consequences will be swift and severe.
Mobius will also have the pleasure of unscheduled visits from the Red Cross.
He spits out the last sentence. He doesn't even try to hide his disgust at the Red Cross observers. They are the only protection standing between us and the violence behind the director's warnings. It's a thin line, but it's all the hope we have. The director continues.
I am sure I don't need to stress the importance of your cooperation in all these matters. Unity, security, prosperity.
The director's swollen lips curl back into a menacing smile.
Report for roll call immediately.
My parents and I don't say a word. I'm not even sure what the purpose of speaking would be. Silently, we step out and see other families from our block doing the same, looking around, some bewildered, others clearly angry. I hear my name and see Aisha waving at me before her mother intercedes and makes her drop her hands to her sides. Aisha shrugs an apology. Salim and Fawzia are minders, or as I affectionately refer to them, traitors. Motion to the 16 internee families on Block 2 to form a straight line down the center of the narrow lane that separates the 8 Mercury homes on one side from the 8 on the other side. Quietly, asking no questions, we fall into formation, too tired and shell-shocked to do anything but obey. This is exactly what they want. Exhaustion and acquiescence.
You heard the director!
Salim shouts.
This is every day from now on until further notice. Hold out your wrists as Fawzia passes by and scans you in.
Fawzia moves down the line with a small scanner the size of a phone. It reads the ultraviolet barcode on the inside of everyone's wrist and marks each internee as present, flashing our camp mugshots for a moment on the scanner's screen. Some grumble as Fawzia walks by. She gives everyone a weak smile and goes back to stand by her husband's side when she's done.
Do not miss roll call.
Salim's voice is gravelly, like he hasn't slept in days. Good. I hope he gets no sleep for the rest of his life. It's petty as hell, but I don't care. They can take away my freedom, but not my fantastic ability to hold a grudge.
Do not disobey any of the new directives. Do not go anywhere you're not supposed to go. Do not step out of line. You are being watched. We all are being watched. We do not want our block to land on the director's list of enemies.
He pauses, then looks directly at me and adds,
Not more than we already are, thanks to the actions of some individuals on this block.
I'm not surprised he's calling me out. There's pretty much no ethical qualm you can have anymore once you've sold out your own people and stood by to watch them get beaten and disappeared. The Minder's job is to inform on other Muslims at the camp, and Salim is making it clear that he will continue his duties no matter what the director does to us. A murmur grows in the line. A middle-aged man in a white kurta and gray topi points at me.
She is the one who deserves punishment, not us. Pipe down, Adil.
My dad yells back at the man. I'm surprised at my dad's quick defense. He usually avoids confrontation. His words make my cracked heart swell a little. Aisha joins in. Yeah, I was there too. I smile so wide that I feel tears in my eyes. Aisha is throwing herself into the lion's den with me. A younger woman with a pale pink chiffon dupatta wrapped loosely around her braided hair yells. Adil's right. These foolish kids pulled this stupid act, refusing to eat like they're Gandhi or something. What were you thinking? She wags a finger at me. Look what you've done. That kid got what he deserved. Others nod. Bile rises in my throat. But there's an older woman, she's probably at least 80, who catches my eye
and lifts her hand to her shoulder in a little fist and gives me a nod. When we first got here, she introduced herself as Khadija Auntie. She has a gray bun and lives alone. There's a spark in her eyes. She gives me what I need to bolster my resolve. "Look at what we've done," I respond. "Look at what you've done. Nothing. You stood by during the election, thinking that none of this would come to pass, that the racism and xenophobia running rampant during the campaign was hot air. And then you stayed silent while your rights were stripped away, and you quietly packed your things and let yourselves be taken prisoner. All of you. All of us. We've offered ourselves up in some kind of twisted Abrahamic sacrifice. But no lamb will be offered instead of us. It's our necks waiting for the axe to fall. We have to be our own miracle." My mom clamps her hand over my mouth, silencing my speech. Salim's eyes bulge out of his head. He walks up to me and shoves an angry finger into my shoulder. "Shut your mouth and watch your step. Don't think I won't report you. And you won't be going to the barracks. The director, he'll send you out to—" "Salim," Fawzia interrupts. "That's enough. We need to give the rest of the instructions." Fawzia coaxes her husband to back away from me, while my mother drapes an arm around my shoulders. My dad steps between Salim and me. Salim allows his wife to guide him away, and then he clears his throat and addresses us again. "Each of you will have a new schedule available on your media unit in your work folder. Report to work when you're required to. If your children are taking early childhood classes, you can escort them and wait for them in the hub. Some of you have been assigned new formal tasks in the mess, the laundry, or the gardens. Instructions are included in your work folder as well." Salim's angry tone turns to pleading. "Just go along. Everyone, please. No more outbursts and demonstrations. Cooperate and it will turn out all right in the end. Remember, unity, security, prosperity." Dismissed. People shuffle away. I hear my name amid the whispers. Aisha and her parents walk up to us. Aisha gives me a tight hug while our parents speak. "I can't believe those horrible people. It's like they didn't even notice I was all rebel with a cause, too." Her face breaks into a grin. Aisha is gold. "Any word about Sohail?" Her face falls, and she blinks rapidly a few times. "The Red Cross took him out of here. Corporal Reynolds told me there's a clinic nearby. Layla, I'm scared. What if they bring him back to Mobius? He'll be #1 on the director's shit list." I squeeze Aisha's shoulder. Maybe he'll be allowed to stay in the clinic until he's fully healed, and then the Red Cross can get him, like, special protection? I wish I could find more reassuring words, but I can't, because she's probably right. The minute Sohail is back in the camp, there will be a target on his back. "Do you think it was a mistake? The fast, I mean? What happens now?" Aisha bites her lower lip. "I'm not sure," I answered truthfully. "I guess we regroup and— Ow! Something smacks me in the back. I turn and see a hardened clod of dirt on the ground. "What the hell? Are you okay?" Aisha and I look around. I catch Salim's eye. The minder is idling on the steps of his trailer, a smug smile on his face.